Tell me your first name.
Richard.
Mr. Richard, how you doing today?
Doing great.
Let me ask you a few questions. What inspired you to become a bus driver?
It was all by mistake. I bought a 48 Greyhound bus, converted it into a motorhome. I bought it, didn't know how to work on it, so I took it to a bus company, a local bus company, see if they can help me out. And they said, oh yeah, we have our mechanic look at it. Well, I was really young. And he says, you know what? And then one of the other drivers came and saw that unique bus, thought it was unusual. And I was telling her my ordeal, and she said, you know what? They're hiring. Why don't you drive? I said, I'm only 19 years old, And she says, so? She says, they'll train you. And it was an older white lady named Claire Clark. And that was in 1975, 76, something like that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but I was driving part-time. I didn't start driving full-time until I was until 11 years ago. Because before I worked at Steelcase for 41 years.
Okay.
I retired from there. Then I started driving full-time instead of on the weekends once a month. Just leave it there. I'll get it. I'll put them on.
Mr. Richard, how you doing this morning?
I'm alive in any color.
Oh, that's what's up. That's what's up. So, we'll start again. Tell us what inspired you to be a bus driver.
Oh, you erased what we
No, I didn't. But we started back where you started. You told us about, you stopped at where you had, you were 19.
Yeah. Yeah, I was 19 and bought a bus, Greyhound bus, 1948 Greyhound. And I had a lot of ambitions and what I wanted to do with it, and turn it into a motorhome, travel to, in between my jobs. But it didn't work out that way. I took it to a bus company and they helped me with it. And it was there so long, it needed so much work. And drivers saw the bus, liked it, and told me that for the fringe benefits, then it's just drive here and part-time, and you can have your bus work going at the same time. I forgot what year that was.
You said it was 1970?
I think it was around the early, I don't know. To tell you the truth, it might have been 75, 77, 80. I can't remember. Whenever I was 19.
Okay.
I was 19 and 75.
Okay. So, what do you get most out of trips like the Grandma Tour?
I get a lot of trips, a lot of good things from it, but it's a bad thing because the group is so good and so organized and treat me so good. I expect other trips to be the same way, but they're not. They're totally not.
Okay.
So, these people are one of a kind. So they treat me pretty good. They're special. And one blessing thing about them, they're good Black Americans. They try to be, and that's what I like.
Yeah. Tourism is good for interstate business. How can communities be united through tourism and educational excursions like this one?
How they can be united? Well, one thing that this society is a little different. With the way the economy is, trips like this is very expensive. It's like really, wow, young, Black men got good at sports like football, basketball, baseball. It was kind of cheap. you know. Golfing came later because it was more of an expensive, exclusive sport for whites. We got good at those sports because they were free. You know, we get a ball and a glove and a bat and we go play. We get a basketball, we play all day. But touring, doing what I'm doing here is, you know, really expensive. You got to get an organization together to sponsor stuff like this that can donate money. An ordinary kid can just get a group of them together and get involved in this type of tourism and seeing the country, because it's wonderful. I've seen things and done things I ordinarily would have never done if I wasn't driving a bus.
Okay. Do you think these type of tours could be done with youth? And if so, how?
Well, you gotta have a lot of sponsors. You gotta have someone to, you gotta have organizers like Carolyn, my friend. You gotta have other businesses in the community to help fund and sponsor trips like this. And then get them involved, or tell them about it, and let them try it out and see. You know, it's something you can just fall into.
Okay, give us the rules for your bus when you're driving.
When I'm driving?
Yeah.
Well, this is what I like. Today, everybody is on their cell phones or their tablets. To me, when you're riding the bus between the bus, I go places and see things that I think that they should observe, because every state I go through has a different atmosphere, a culture, a way of doing things. The roads, the exits, the on-ramps, the gas stations, the trees, the mountains. I mean, everything is different. But they spend so much time on their phones where they overlook the beauty that the roads and the places we go offer. Especially when you're driving during the day and especially at night. I like driving. It's easy going, it's beautiful, it's calming, not that much traffic. But the bad part about driving at night, you don't see the beauty of the mountains in the country. You know, and I expect them to be, they help keep the bus clean. It's not just my responsibility, but it's the whole group's responsibility to clean up, keep their areas looking as best as can. Because your little seat cubicle where you sit at is like your home for a while. And you wouldn't trash your home and leave stuff on the floor and steal things and not give it up or say anything. Because it's basically it's for your comfort, for me, to have your area clean. That's it.
Okay. So, you have any other insights or questions for me or anything? Other insights about your profession and tours like this or anything, or any advice for the people out there?
I just wish to get more black men and women into driving. We have very few out there. And then once the ones that do come and drive, they quit because things aren't perfect like they want. They're not getting the money they should, or they think the owner of the company is prejudiced, so they get mad and quit. All I can say is that you can't let the prejudice you think they have determine whether you stay, because Jackie Robinson, when he played, look what happened to him. Yeah. He could have got mad and quit. Yeah. Because there was this racism all around him, from other teams, some of his own players for a while. You just can't quit over something like that. You gotta live through it. You can't quit every time you think there's racism or discrimination or a problem. Work through it, and you can set an example for other people.
All right, Mr. Richard, thank you very much. And we are honored and pleased to have you as our driver once again. And we hope to have you on the rest of our trips as well.
Well, if my health permits, I will be there.
All right. Thank you very much.
Bottom of the feet of his bed, and then in the beginning of the Bible, when God brought Eve to Adam, there was no ceremony. He took her. He said, "This is yours." And once they slept together, that consummated. There was no ceremony. Man only did the ceremony basically for money. Is to bring people together. Is to sell stuff. It bring all the. It's all commercialism.
So jumping the broom was more organic.
Yeah, that was. But they were taking their tradition like what they did in the Bible. All you needed was to be in that person's presence.
Did you watch that movie? Boaz?
Yeah.
You watch that?
Oh, I was years ago.
But it's another one now. I haven't watched
I haven't seen the new one.
I haven't either. I gotta watch it.
Okay. Tell me your first name.
Donald.
Tell me a little about yourself and your tribe.
Well, I was born in Knoxville, Tennessee, and we moved from there when I was 3 years old and came to Muskegon, Michigan. I grew up in Muskegon. I went to Muskegon Reese Pupper High School. And in 1959, I left there and moved to Washington, D.C. That's where I met my wife, and we got married. I stayed there for 9 years, and then we moved back to Michigan, back to Grand Rapids. And we've been in Grand Rapids now about 57 years.
What kind of work do you do? What kind of work did you do?
I started out in D.C. I took two trades. I took up barbering and shoemaking.
Okay.
And I ended up doing the shoemaking. When I moved to Grand Rapids, I got a job at Economy Cleaners. And then my brother's brother-in-law got me into the public library.
Oh, okay.
And I ended up there as a maintenance supervisor.
Oh, okay.
I worked there 30 years and 6 months.
Oh, okay. Having been on the inaugural Grandma Never to Be Erased tour last year, was that experience the inspiration to go on this one?
Yes. Yes. Yeah. I really enjoyed that. Yes.
Okay. What did you look forward to on this trip, and what have you been enlightened with so far?
It's really good to be with a group of people, doing constructive things. Really nice people, and so we really enjoy these trips.
Okay. What do you think will bridge the gap between the elders and the youth as far as consciousness and socio-spiritual balance?
What is that now?
Consciousness and socio-spiritual balance, social and spiritual balance. What will bridge the gap between the youth and the elders?
For young people?
Yeah.
We need to get back to some of the old traditions. You know, we've gotten
Rites
away
of
from.
passage and stuff
Yeah,
like
we've
that.
gotten away from it.
Okay.
But back, you know, I grew up in a little community out there in Muskegon, and it was kind of like any adult could control any kid in that area, you know, and we've gotten away from that. You know, we need to get back to it because these young people are getting out of control.
You need to get by, sis? All right. What insights did you come away with from the International Underground Railroad Museum in Cincinnati?
You know, it kind of. I've watched Roots and those kind of programs, and I really got upset. It was really bad what they did to us, and it's kind of upsetting, you know, to think about. They treated us less than an animal.
Yeah.
You know. So I like to, you know, see this kind of stuff, but then it's kind of upsetting to me.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Any other insights or questions you have for me?
No, not really.
Okay.
You know, these 2 trips have been really informative to me. Because a lot of stuff that I didn't even know about, you know. And yeah.
What were you saying?
No, I was just saying that these two trips have really been informative to me. Because, like when my wife mentioned it to me at first, I was kind of like, I don't know if I want to do that or not. And then I'm so glad I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much. All right. Tell me your name.
My name's Marcus.
And tell me a little bit about yourself, your tribe, and community.
So I'm a resident of Lansing. I'm on the GRAAMA bus tour because my wife Deborah and I learned about the Grand Rapids African American Museum and Archive, and we just really wanted to be part of this experience and learn more about the community where we're living in Michigan and about our connection to the history of civil rights movement in the South.
All right, you kind of answered that. A little bit more to that question. Why did you initially decide to take this tour, and what did you expect to get out of it, and what do you think of it so far?
My wife and I have a lot of friends who, for vacationing, like they might want to go on a cruise or go up north and gamble or something like that. And we're on this tour, I think, for 2 reasons. And one is both of us have connections to the South and a family history that makes the history of civil rights important to us. And then the other reason is to learn about Michigan. So it's very unique that you have GRAAMA and these people in Grand Rapids who are putting themselves out to have these experiences together and learn. And so we're learning both about American history and also where we live in Michigan and the people who live there with us.
Okay. How important do you think these types of tours for culture, diversity, and immersion?
I was struggling with the question myself. Why is this important? And I think the answer that came up for me is that right now in American history, you're seeing efforts to erase history. And of course, they're in particular talking about African American history, but African American history is American history. And so I think supporting the organizations that are keeping history alive is really important. The government is erasing history from federally funded museums, and so these private museums are keeping it alive. And then so on supporting the organizations that are doing that work, and then also learning so that people have this knowledge in their own minds. That's very important.
Okay. Next question. America and the world has a troubling past. How do you think it could heal?
How do I think the world can heal?
Yeah, it has a troubling past. How do you think what's an ideal way of how it can heal?
So I think through much of my life, I naively thought that I knew ways to heal the world. And I think the past few years, I have learned that I know less than I thought. But I've been feeling lately that it's important for communities of people, justice-seeking people, to stay in relationship with each other and to support each other's efforts to learn and make change. And I think that's a way you can weather tough times and come out the other side stronger. And that's what I think we need to do. We need to spend time in community with other justice-seeking people and support each other. And I do believe that it is still true that the majority do want to live in a positive, loving community and are seeking justice. I just think sometimes the bad guys get the upper hand. When you walk around and you talk to people, you're still meeting a lot of good people wherever you go. So sometimes it seems like a mystery. How could things have gotten so bad? But obviously, if we look at history, bad things happen pretty frequently. So it should come as no surprise that we've had a setback. But it did to me. I was naive. I thought we were going to elect President Kamala Harris and we'd be off on our way to a new world, and that didn't happen. So I have a lot to learn.
Yeah. So, what knowledge and wisdom and understanding have you gained from this trip so far, and what do you expect to gain more for the rest of it?
So I think two things struck me. One, I'm familiar with a lot of civil rights history and the characters who struggled for civil rights, but in seeing these museums, the difficulty and the fear that they had to face, it hit me again, really in a very strong way. And I was just thinking about the four young men who sat down at that Woolworth counter, and they had a little video there we saw where they seemed very brave and confident that they were going to make a new world. I'm sure they were actually really scared and probably thought that might be the last day of their lives, and yet they still did it anyway. And that's just amazing to feel what they must have felt. And so just personally, help me out here, Blue. I'm forgetting the name of the general. McNeil. Yeah, McNeil, one of the four guys who sat down at that Woolworth counter. McNeil. So let me tell the story like this. So my grandfather was high up in the White Citizens Council in Yazoo City, Mississippi, and he did a lot of bad things, very bad things I won't go into right now, but that's part of my family history. Surprisingly, my father, his son, was touched by these events, like the sit-in at the lunch counter. And he came home he was in the Air Force ROTC, just like McNeil. And he came home and announced to his father that he supported Dr. King and voting rights. And so he was kicked out of the family for 10 or 12 years and wasn't welcome back home. And it just touched me that my father became an Air Force officer, and McNeil went on and became Major General in the Air Force. And they never met, and my father never talked about McNeil to me. But what that young man did at that lunch counter touched my father, a man he never met, and changed his heart. And that's just so amazing to find that connection in these stories.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about your background in the struggle.
So my background in the struggle. So I think what's significant is that one of the things that I struggle with a lot is that white people always act surprised when they're exposed to true information about slavery, Jim Crow, the struggle for civil rights. You know, if you if people find out, for example, that they had a slave-owning ancestor, or that the college that they went to got its initial endowment from the slave trade or something like that, they always act so shocked. Oh my God, who could have known this? But if you understand history, you know all of the white people benefited off of slavery, and all of us had ancestors who either were active in, slavery or supported Jim Crow, or at least were silent. And what's unique, I think, about my family is my parents both made an effort to teach me and my sister the truth about our family history. So we never went through that shock. We always knew the complex reality of our family, a family of people who loved each other and were good to each other, and we're good in that way. But then they had this other dark side, like my grandfather, who was basically, he was in banking, and his job for the White Citizens Council was to call in the loans of families who spoke up and said, we need to vote, we need to have good schools. So they would call in, they were all sharecroppers, so they would call in their loans, and they would have to leave Mississippi and go north. I often say that I think my grandfather probably was responsible for part of the Great Migration, because he was so mean and hurt so many families. And so we know that. And so if you know that, you're just called to tell the truth and to be in relationship with people and be part of atonement and making a better world. You can't pretend you don't know, but so many white people do seem to not know, and that's another reason for this kind of education and history. Now, people who aren't listening, these messages aren't going to reach them, but I think we need to support things like these private museums. That includes GRAAMA, of course, and the work that we're trying to do in Michigan.
Okay. On a lighter note, what types of music did your family listen to, and yourself? What was the musical taste?
So, Blue, I did notice that you have a lot of involvement in jazz.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's beautiful. I'm going to listen to some of those videos you have out there. So, my mother exposed us as kids to the 60s rock and roll. So I grew up listening to Dylan, the Beatles, Sly and Family Stone, all of that. That was part of the soundtrack of my youth. Okay. And interestingly enough, it was my mom, who was a minister, who exposed me to all that music.
Well,
so.
Okay. So, do you have any questions for me or any other insights?
No, I don't.
I thought you had some questions for me.
Well, I was gonna ask you some stuff about the history of GRAAMA, but I don't know where to start specifically. I just was gonna pick your brain about that.
Well, I don't know much about GRAAMA. I met GRAAMA through Carolyn Ferrari, Diamond Dancer, and I was initiated with them a couple of years ago, and I went on the first tour last year, and that's where I got started videoing. And I got a series I did with them on
Also,
the
it's pretty
inaugural
quiet.
tour.
Do you want to talk a little bit later? I
And,
see some naps happening right now. Talk later.
So
Okay.
I got with them,
B
and
said
then
do it now?
I'm trying to be here on all the trips for them.
Wow.
And it's been growing, and I'm trying to be a part of that growth.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to be a part of, that growth and expansion. Hopefully one year they'll be able to take a bunch of youth on the
Yes.
tour. If we get a bunch of brave adults to go with us
Yeah.
to take on that task, because youth can be a challenge going on trips together, you know. But that's a vision I have in my mind for this to evolve to.
That's great.
You know, maybe we can have a couple of buses taking people somewhere.
Yeah.
You know, so that's where I'm going. All right, Marcus. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right.
I'm good.
What's your name?
Benjamin. Seabrook.
Benjamin, you are a tour guide for
Yes,
the
sir.
Gullah Geechee area.
Yes, sir.
How long you been doing this?
I just started. It's actually my first trip.
And so, how do you feel about getting a group like this down here like this? You think this is good for educational?
Yeah, good for educational and good for a cultural experience. So I'm gonna get y'all doing something on that bus bus when I get back on it. Teach y'all the Gullah, double clap.
Okay. All right. All right. Thank you very much.
The bright side somewhere. There's a bright side somewhere. Don't you stop until you find it. There's a bright side somewhere. There's a bright side somewhere. There's a bright side somewhere. Don't you stop until you find it. There's a bright side somewhere.
How's it feel completing your first tour?
I tell you, when I didn't know what, I couldn't get an energy read on what was happening. And then after a couple of stops, stuff started coming together after we left Parkour Reserve. We got something to eat, and then it started happening. It started flowing. Yes, ma'am, thank you.
All right. How does it feel to have a group like this to learn the history of the Gullah Geechee?
It's the biggest compliment I've ever had paid, man. Somebody to just want to know you know, because this is us. This is in large part all of us.
Yeah.
Like I said, you know, 70% of all of the people that came to the United States from Africa and the Caribbean came to South Carolina, Charleston, and Savannah.
Yeah.
And that's not everybody in this country. If you brown skin, you probably have a connection back here.
Yeah.
As unique as so-called African Americans are, I mean, and we are the tribe that was born with America.
Yeah.
We are America's twin.
Yeah.
All right? There's no other way to put it. We were born with the country. Because we are the admixture of everyone that was here and everyone that came here. We got Indian blood, 20% European blood, 80% African blood, and a little bit of everything that we've never been before. This is where we come from. I don't turn away the idea that we have a huge African lineage, but it'd be completely dishonest to not acknowledge the other lineages that we have. However, we may have come by them, good or bad.
Yeah.
But we are the original American tribe.
Yes. Yes. And do you think this would be something important for youth to learn?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, without a doubt. Without a doubt. And a large part of our problems as a people right now is that we don't know ourselves. And where we're going to begin to learn that if we wait until we're 40.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
How useful is it going to be if the kids learn that from day one? If they learn it from day one, we will have a whole lot less problems culturally than we do have. People don't have to find themselves if they already know who they are.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But everybody's trying to find themselves because they don't know who they are.
Yeah. All right. Thank you very much.
Yes,
brother.
sir. Brother, I appreciate you.
Yes, sir.
All right, man.
Great. How are you?
Tell me your name and tell me your name.
My name is Emmett.
Okay. You have a powerful name that speaks the volume of Black history and throughout the cosmos. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your tribe.
Okay, so actually my name, Emmett, is actually a Hebrew word for truth. And so I claim that is part of my purpose, my destiny as well, is to be enthralled in telling the truth and revealing the truth, and particularly truth about ourselves as descendants of African slaves in the Americas, learning more about who we are, what we've done to make a difference in this world.
All right. As a seasoned young Black man, how important are tours like this one for the betterment of our people and the brotherhood of man? I'm speaking of the Grandma Tour, Never to Be Erased Tour, Part 2.0.
Yeah, I think that was the thing that attracted me to the to be on this particular pilgrimage, was the Never to Erase part. That is not only rediscovering, but in some ways reaffirming our history, which is critically important because the people who do not know their history do not know how to respond to the future. And so I'm adamant about getting history and getting it straight. Telling the truth, again, is that seam that runs through my life. So the truth about history and the truth about this nation, the truth about the experience of people from the continent of Africa. It must be told. It must be told in terms of not only the graphic retelling of the horror of it all, but certainly the resilience, the strength of Black people in this nation. I think to reaffirm that is to reaffirm that means that we help the next generation to live into the chapter of their own experience as being Black in America.
What you learned about the underground, new about the Underground Freedom Center? What you learn new about it? I know you say you've been there before.
Yeah, and I've been there a few times. I think that one of the things that was to sort of, it, again, in a certain sense, it traumatizes or re-traumatizes you to go through and actually seeing all of the images from the Underground Railroad. But more important to me this time around is to remember the stories. And then one story that I think I remember that at least this visit reminded me of was of a slave mother who had escaped and on her way across the Kentucky River
into Cincinnati, into the Underground Railroad, was actually recaptured before she could get to the shore. And as they were trying to, as I guess these were the, what do they call it?
Slavery.
The slavery, no, it was the police.
Bounty hunters.
The bounty hunters. They had a specific name.
Slave patrol.
The slave patrol was closing in on her. She made a drastic decision to say, I would rather be dead in my grave than to be re-enslaved. And so the story was that she jumped overboard with her 2 young children, and they perished in the waters of the river. Sacrifice. I think it's, that was the thing that popped into my head going back to the Underground Railroad for this last time.
Wow, that's deep, brother. What do you think we can do as brothers to enhance the awareness of our people and specifically our families to our history?
Yeah, I think that it's incumbent upon us as black men for certainly to take our role as leaders in our homes, in our communities, our affiliations, our churches, our fraternities, our social clubs and settings, to again build bridges of truth and building the pillars and the foundations of truth. And by passing that along, and I think certainly to educate ourselves continuously. I think education is a lifelong process. I believe strongly in lifelong learning. And so we learn more, we pass it along. We learn more and we incorporate that into our daily living. And I think that's how we make a difference.
Okay. Were you enlightened by the Gullah Geechee experience? And if so, how so?
Yeah, I think the thing that really that stuck with me was that just the sheer percentages of our African ancestors who came through South Carolina, and I did not realize that greater percentage of our people actually came through this part of the country into the Americas, and so it just impacted me deeply to know that somehow I'm still connected to them, because if our ancestors were, if 40% of them coming through, there's a high likelihood that some of my own direct descendants were part of that entering into slavery and that from those ports. And I think that that's the thing that then just to figure out how we got to my upbringing was that I was born in Meridian, Mississippi, and so my grandfather and great-grandfather were all kind of from Mississippi. But when I look on my mother's side of the family, my mother had more of a Caribbean kind of features, and just sort of drastically reminds me that our travels, through the Caribbean and through the Bermuda Triangle, somehow it's all connected, and it just makes us just a part of a greater international community.
Oh, okay. Wow, that's a rich history. The youth are troubled today. Do you think a tour like this would be ideal for the youth, and how would you go about doing it if you did something like that?
Can you repeat the question?
I said the youth are troubled today. Do you think a tour like this would be ideal for the youth, and how would you think someone should go about it?
I think that it would certainly be beneficial. I do think that we would have to be very creative in trying to, first of all, if we're targeting youth, we have to define what's youthful in terms of a spread of a range of age groups. So I think different strategies will have to be developed for different strategies for different age groups. So younger teens, middle teens, older teens, and young adults will all perhaps take a different kind of approach to show them the connections, and I think the importance of them understanding what this kind of a pilgrimage will do for them in terms of helping them to understand and connect with their past. So I think it will be critically important to do. I think we need to be in think tanks and talking to young people about ways in which we can engage them in conversations and then making it possible to arrange for them to be a part of it, overcoming whatever barriers there might be, to them financially or whatever, to actually take the journey.
Okay, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. Any other insights or things of enlightenment or takeaways or giveaways for this trip, or any other things or questions for me you have?
Yeah, just that I have been enormously impressed with how the journey has been laid out so far. The people that we have encountered, our tour guides, and all of the museums had done excellent work. Very powerfully motivating to be once again to reaffirm ourselves and our history and our journey as a people. I think the insight would be, we need to do more of this to make certain that our history is not erased, that we will continue to put it on the front burner, shout it from the mountaintops, from the rooftops, to let the world know the resilience that comes out of the struggle for human rights and dignity as experienced by people of African descent in this country.
All right. That's a lot. Thank you very much.
All right.
Hi, my name is Tanya. It's nice to be here. And Blue, thank you so much for this interview.
Yeah.
When we were at the Underground Railroad Freedom Museum, and I hope that's the full name, when I saw the cotton, immediately I remembered the stories from my father, from my aunt, because they worked the cotton fields. And I sent the picture to my children, and up under the picture it said, "That damn cotton." Each of my children responded because we understand the history in our family, which was just a couple of generations ago, who actually had to pick cotton for a living, who, like my father and my aunt, actually had to leave home in the summer to pick cotton and then come back in the fall. They also had to pick cotton before school. So my Aunt Jessie, she has a thing about cotton, and apparently my father didn't like picking cotton, and he would actually put dirt at the bottom of his so that no one could tell.
Tell us about this crab here.
And so the crab really is significant because culturally, this is what we do when someone comes to our house and we spend time with them and we fellowship with them. We always want them to leave with something. So it really touched my heart when he brought the ice chest. I thought maybe they were like offering us something to drink, but when he opened it up and the smell of fresh steamed crab just came radiating out of the ice chest, immediately I felt a deep connection to when you have fellowship with your brothers and sisters and your family, you always want them to leave with something, and they did that, and I felt that. So that was really beautiful. And also, when we experienced the Gullah Geechee cuisine, the chewy, I took a picture of it and sent it to my son, and then I gave him an explanation of how chewy originated, and that it's one of Gullah Geechee, the cultural, one of the favorite decadents of the Gullah Geechee people.
What's in the chewy?
I'm sorry.
What's in the chewy?
So it's butter, but you brown the butter to you don't burn it, but you brown the butter first. Pecans, brown sugar, vanilla, and eggs. And once you bake it, it's like a brownie, but it's delicious. So my son can't wait because I wrapped up 2 for him so that he could taste authentic Gullah cuisine, and he is so excited. And just his text told me how excited he is, and he just can't wait. So that is my story.
All right. What? This is your first trip on the Never to Be Erased Grandma tour.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
How do you feel about these types of tours and how important do you think they are to our culture?
Oh, these types of tours are extremely important for our culture, and they're necessary. They're necessary, and think about the times that we're living in. When you think about the time that we're living in and our history is being erased, museums are being closed down, books are being burned. I would have never thought that I would live during a time when books were being burned. So this was necessary, and I really hope that they're able to continue it.
Tell me a little bit about your journey.
So when you say my journey, are you talking about my professional journey, personal
All of the above.
journey? I would say that I come from very deep roots, very deep Gullah roots, but very deep family ties when it comes to how we celebrate one another, how we support one another. I was a mom who single-handedly homeschooled my children, my first 3 children. My daughter was in the 3rd grade. My twin boys were in the 2nd grade because I believe that our children of color, our black children, deserve a better education. Today, my daughter's an attorney. Today, my son teaches. And I feel like these things are necessary to continue our education, and some of the education that we receive when it comes to our culture and who we are is not going to come from the school system. It is going to come from us telling our stories. Like historically, that is how information is passed down in the African American community, through telling stories, through that art of storytelling. So I really believe in that. So now I want to I'm launching a publishing company because I want to be in the forefront of continuing to tell our stories.
Okay. How important do you think this is to the youth of today?
It's really important for the youth because I feel like our youth are even more connected from some of our cultural ties, especially if you don't have a family that really understands the cultural ties. So tours like this and exposing our youth to this type of information and this type of historical information to help them to understand who they are is very important. And if we want that to be done, we can't wait for someone else to do it. We have to be just like Grandma and do it ourselves. Because if we want change and we want things to be a certain way, we're not waiting for someone else to show up. We're just doing it ourselves.
Okay, thank you very much.
You are welcome.
Tell me your name and a little bit about yourself and your tribe.
And my what?
Tribe.
My tribe?
Tribe.
Tribe?
T-R-I-B-E.
I don't know my tribe. That's where
Family,
it starts.
family.
Okay. So my name's Quana. I'm 40 years young. I'm a recruiter for Grand Rapids Public Schools, and I absolutely love to travel. I am my parents' only child. However, I do have a sister. I have one child. She's 20, and I'm very close with my family. I got the travel bug, I think, from my dad because he was a biker. So I used to travel with him and my mom as a child. They didn't do babysitters. So whenever they traveled for the club, I was at a biker's house. So I stayed with biker family. And so I think that's what got me into travel. I've been blessed enough to travel to 23 countries.
Wow.
23. Africa 5 times.
Okay.
Mama Land. And yeah, I don't know how I didn't hear about this trip last year, but I'm glad I came across it this year because I enjoy traveling, and I enjoy traveling with my mom. She's always wanted to go to Jamaica, and so I was able to take her to Jamaica a couple months ago in June. And this came up, and I thought it'd be a great trip for me and my mom. And so here we are.
Okay, that segues into the question I was gonna ask, was like, how did you initially decide to take this tour? You already answered that, but what did you expect to get out of it, and what do you think of it so far?
I come in with very general expectations because I don't want to get upset if my expectations are too high and they're not met. So I just have very general expectations. I did expect it to be more of a mature crowd, and that has happened. So a very mature crowd. Everyone's so nice. It's been really good. It's been great. So I'm just glad that we decided to come. Everyone is so kind.
Okay. As a young black woman, how important are tours like this for our people and our families?
Very, because we don't want to lose knowledge of our history. I think that we know we know what's taught to us in schools, right? We know about Dr. Martin Luther King, and we know about Harriet Tubman and Sojourner Truth. We learn those in school, but if we don't take the steps to actively learn more about our history and our culture, then I think we lose it, or it doesn't get passed down. So it's really important to, have balance. Like, yeah, we can go to Miami and turn up and have fun and go party, but I like to balance that with culture and history and hearing it from the people who have experience and want to share that with our people. So it's extremely, extremely important to me to learn.
Okay. Do you have a vision for children and youth as it relates to this type of our story?
My vision is that the knowledge is continued outside of what's learned in school. School's only going to teach you so much, and even then, with our society today, it's unfortunate that people, the system, whomever, someone, something is trying to take our history out of school. So if we don't have intention to seek the knowledge to pass it down to our younger generations, like I mentioned earlier, I believe it will be lost, or you're going to rely on somebody else to tell it to you, where it may not be the most accurate version of what's truly happened to us, essentially whitewashed in a sense. So I believe that it's really important to, I can't remember what the term is, get it from the horse's mouth, something like that, versus it being translated.
Authentic.
More authentic, because
and organic.
Authenticity and organic knowledge is sometimes uncomfortable for people, and so they make it more digestible. And I think that is unfair to the true history of where we come from.
Yeah. It's a disservice to the ancestors.
Yes, it's a disservice to our ancestors, and I think that, like I mentioned on the bus, you know, we've seen some hard things in the last couple days, some sad things, but I think we owe it to our ancestors to participate and to watch, because as hard as it is for us to watch, imagine how hard it was for them to actually endure and go through. So it's important to get the authentic, organic knowledge versus letting someone control the narrative of what they want us to hear.
What aspect of the Gullah Geechee experience stood out to you the most, and why?
I'd say, and something that I'd like to dig into a bit more is the language. Because I've been blessed enough to travel so much, I'm always interested in the origin of the language. Even going to visiting somewhere like Jamaica, and I know some actual Jamaicans when they speak their patois and the broken English and kind of the origin of that and shortening words to still make it make sense. So hearing our tour guide Benjamin speak some Gullah, it's like you know what they're saying, like you can kind of get it, but to really learn more of it. So yes, to hear the language for sure was very interesting to me, and
it's like black codes from the underground.
Yeah, exactly. So that was really interesting to me. And then in the gift bags that he gave us, that he prepared for us, which were beautiful, just learning about the different herbs and the plants that they use for teas.
It grows right around there.
Yeah, our ancestors were not eating Doritos and Takis, you know, and so getting that knowledge to learn about, you know, what they used for healing and anti-inflammatory foods. And so the language and the plants and the flowers, for sure.
All right. Do you have any questions or other knowledge, wisdom, and insight about anything else, or questions for me? You know.
Thanks for chatting with me, and I feel so blessed to be amongst people who are of similar yoke, that also want to learn and explore and just open to seeing something that we don't see every day, that's not in our regular type of day-to-day. So, and to be on the trip with my mommy is just amazing. So, I'm just
So what will you
grateful.
take back to the village?
Huh?
What will you take back to the village?
Oh, to the village. I would like, if there is some type of opportunity to invite folks, maybe it's every other week, or maybe it's once a month, to get together and watch some documentaries. You know, they say if you want to hide knowledge from people, put it in a book. And so maybe there's some opportunity to learn and connect, whether that be a documentary, an authentic documentary, not the documentary that someone wants you to see that's not as authentic, or, you know, and or potentially a book club of some sort, but not too much, because when you do too much, it gets tiring quite fast. So something that would allow us to connect and do some learning. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Yes. Thank you, Blue.
All right.
Thank you,
Looking
Monsieur.
Yeah, looking forward to the rest of the trip.
Okay, me as well.
All right. Tell me your name.
Teresa. I work for the Grand Rapids African American Museum and Archives as project coordinator. I help to facilitate the planning and carrying out of the Never to Be Erased tour.
Okay. So tell me, this is the second tour of Never to Be Erased. How excited were you for this tour, and what were your expectations, and what were you looking forward to on this one?
So I'm extremely happy to have been able to participate in this second journey. It is a journey. It's a journey of learning and enlightenment, and that's the best part of this. Sometimes we go throughout our lives and we don't know anything. And then we go throughout our lives and we think we know everything. And a journey like this just lets you know just how much you really don't know, even when you think you know a lot. And so I think that that's really one of the blessings about being able to participate in this trip, that continual learning of things, and even some things that I did know were showed in another way that gives me another appreciation for my history and the culture that I'm born of.
Do you think, how do you feel about the participants? Last year we had a good crew, and how did you feel about the participants last year and this year, and what did you think about that?
This, I love the participation. Everybody brings their own unique piece to the experience. We have some return travelers, and just to know that the first bus tour had such an impact on them that they wanted to come back again. That's amazing, and that's a testament to the planning that we did, the committee that we did, and then the excitement that they had, that they went back to Grand Rapids and shared with others, and now they're bringing others to the second one. Right. And so that's been awesome. That's been amazing.
The youth are troubled today, and do you think this would be something great for the youth to do, and how would you go about doing something like that?
Absolutely, I definitely think, and what I think that a lot of the people on the trip this year too feel kind of the same way, because the age is older, and we do have some younger young ladies on the trip. But to go even a little younger than that, I think it would be fantastic. I think that because we have a lot of grandparents on the trip, and if we take it upon ourselves to say, hey, let me get, one of my grandchildren involved in this, or multiple, would be a great idea. And I say that because we have to be responsible for them. We want it to be a learning and an engaging time, but we want it to be really meaningful as well. And to be able, I think about if I had been able to do something like this with one of my grandparents, right? One, to kind of open their eyes, because they lived a lot of this, right? And coming up for me, they didn't talk about it. So therefore, because they didn't talk about it, I didn't know about it. until I was way older. And to just think about the possibility of being able to go through some of this journey with them and being able to talk to them about it, about their experiences, about what they saw or learned, or what their parents, went through or saw or learned. I think it would have just been an amazing, and invaluable time to have spent with them. And so for me to think about how to, engage one of my grandchildren or multiple of my grandchildren would be awesome.
Okay, from what we've experienced so far, the Underground Railroad Center, Freedom Center, the Civil Rights Museum, Woolworth Counter, and the Gullah Geechee, what stood out and what impacted you about those experiences? What did you come away with from those?
Yeah, well, for the Underground Railroad, actually, I was a little under the weather, so I wasn't able to experience that time there. But the civil rights, the International Civil Rights Museum was an awesome experience. And our tour guide, she was phenomenal. And so for her to just kind of guide us through it, it was wonderful. She was very knowledgeable. And then just to the way in which they kind of led us through it, it wasn't too overwhelming, but it was really a knowledgeable time. So I really enjoyed that. And Mr. Benjamin with the Gullah Geechee tour, that also was amazing. To just have someone who said that, you know what, I didn't even know about, some of this. And just this one little spark happened and it just took over. And so now the experience that he imparted on us, and this is his first time doing that, I can see him, he's very knowledgeable and had a lot to offer, and it was a tremendous experience. Him setting up the food, him, setting up the time at the church to experience some of the singing culture, and so that's been great. And so up to now, it's just been amazing, a great time, and I'm just looking forward to the remainder of the trip.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you, and you have a good.
You too. All right, tell us a little bit about yourselves. Give me a name and why we're here and what's going on here. I'm
George, and I'm the executive director of GRAAMA. Okay. As you see, we sponsored the trip every year.
And that's the Never to Be Erased tour. This was the second inception of that tour, and 2.0, if you will. And it's been a pleasure. It was great on the last trip and whatnot. I just want to have a conversation with y'all. What's your name?
I'm Deborah, and I'm George's wife, and I am the Director of Learning and Engagement at GRAAMA.
Okay, that's Grand Rapids African American Museum and Archives in Grand Rapids, Michigan, right?
Yes.
Okay, I'm excited to have you all today, and I know you were elated about the first trip. Yes. What do you feel about this trip? What were you going into it? What were your expectations, and how have you felt about it so far?
Well, I think with this particular trip, a couple things. One was that we liked it so much last year, we wanted to do more. So we wanted to add on another day or another location. just to expand it a little bit, because a lot of the people who went last year went this year, and we wanted to give them a step up, to have a little bit more trip for the money. And that was one of the second things. Many people said that we really didn't even charge that much last year, that we should have, for a little bit more, we could have went a lot further, and that's exactly what we did. Charged a little more, and we're all the way here in South Carolina, which is a pretty good distance from Grand Rapids. The other thing was that we wanted to expand our connection with other museums, which is the very purpose of the Never to Be Erased tour, is to visit museums, some side trips too, but mainly museums to get a kind of a feel for what other museums are doing, how they're showing Black history, the problems they're having with federal cut-downs, and be able to connect with them on that level. The other thing is that we just bought a new building for our museum. We've expanded it, and we're getting ideas. We want to see how they're using digital technology, how they're incorporating their staff, what hours they're running. All those kind of things that are the backbone of most museums are the things that why we've expanded it this year.
Okay. And I just want to add a third piece to that, which is the title of the tour, which is Never to Be Erased.
Right.
That is always at the core as we plan, because we are living in a time where folks are trying to erase our history, American history, world history, and our place as African Americans in it. We were there. Every major war African Americans have fought for this country. They went out and fought and came home and were denied the very rights that they were fighting for. So at the core of what this tour is about is the theme, is the title, Never to Be Erased. And that is always at the forefront. And we're excited that this year we have returning people who traveled with us last year, as well as new folks who said, hey, I heard about it last year, and folks who went said, you do not want to miss it. And so basically it's spread by word of mouth. People had such a profound experience last year that they said, they did not want to miss this year. And on the way to this interview, we happened to be on the elevator, and we had two people who said, this was my first year. I will definitely be back next year. I will go every year.
That's encouraging and exciting. And having said that, you answered a lot of what I was going to just ask you. How critical, and I'll pose this to both of you, and give you both a chance to answer, how critical you think these types of tours are, not only for our people, but for cultural diversity and immersion in our culture and the history of the world. And also, do you see an expanded vision for this type of tour?
Well, that's a good question, Lou. We see it as a thing where people who come to us, I think one of the main reasons that people come to us is that while the trips to each museum is different and unique in its own skin, the real learning and the real connection comes on the bus ride itself. We get on that bus, and after a day, we become family. We watch out for one another, we look out for one another, we help one another, and that's all a part of the learning process. What I think we lack more than anything this year might be you know, a range of different generations. We do have some young folks on the trip, but most folks are, you know, elderly. I say it that way kindly, and
Grand people.
Yeah,
Grand people.
grand people. But you know, we're the ones who have lived the experiences too.
Right.
And I think that's a better, not a better connection, but a connection, in where you know, we can go into the Underground Railroad Museum and see similarities in
And remember
history,
some facts.
remember some things, have relatives that might have been a part of the Underground Railroad, and be able to relate that. Now we can all take that back to the young people, you know, nieces, nephews, brothers, sisters in your family, and relate that story back. But I think it is very important that these connections are built. I probably learn more from listening to the stories of people on the bus than I do from some of the museums. I'm as a museum director, I'm jaded by a lot of the stuff goes in there because I've already seen it. I know all about the sit-ins, and I know about the Underground Railroad and civil rights. But you know, somebody stands up on a bus and says, you know, my dad was a racist or something like that, and you're like, wow, this is something I didn't expect, you know. So I think that's a very important component of what we do. Hope to never lose that part of it. You know, I think that from the bus driver on to all of the people, we get very connected, and I think that that's one of the things that makes our trip a little bit special.
And I would just like to add that our reach is cross-generational, and it actually extends. This is not just a trip for African Americans. This is a trip for folks who want to learn about actual history, and so all are welcome. And so this year we have a professor, in fact we have two, who found out about the trip and don't even live in Grand Rapids, happened to see a social media ad, saw the trip and said, this trip for this many days, for this price, this seems like it's too good to be true. So they traveled to Grand Rapids to meet the executive director and have a conversation. And once they met him and had that conversation, said, we have to sign up. And these folks happen not to be African American, but decided history is too important and I want to learn more. And we certainly welcome folks who just want to learn. That's what we're all about. We're about education. We're about furthering and telling the stories and exposing people to things maybe they've never heard or never experienced. So it has just been, it's been a delight. We've had some heavy things. We've seen some heavy things, and we acknowledge that and process that. But it has just been an experience to bring this many folks together to travel. I think we've been, I want to say 7 states.
Yes.
We've crossed about seven states, and it's just really been a joy. We are just so excited about the trip.
And I'll ask you this, George. You said you know a lot of the history about the Underground Railroad and the civil rights movement and whatnot. The museums we went to, I don't know if you've been there before, but were there any new and enlightening factors that you learned from where we've been so far?
Wow, that is a good question, because like I said, I'm a student and I've studied a lot of the different museums that we've been to. I'd say what happens, because I think most of the museums we've been to have tackled national issues. And I think I get more excited about learning something on the local level. For instance, with the Underground Railroad Museum, the Underground Railroad was universal. I have my own relatives who played a part in the Underground Railroad, but I didn't know how much Ohio history was involved. It's in Cincinnati, and to hear some of the stories that happened in the Cincinnati area, I think were different for me. The same goes with the Civil Rights Museum. It talked about the 4 young men from North Carolina A&T that started the sit-in movement. And again, for me, I knew all about the sit-ins. I didn't know much about the students themselves. Their kind of personal drama that went into the decision as a 16, 17, 18-year-old student to literally put your life on the line for something you believe in.
Yeah.
And so I think the way that they exposed us to that story was very powerful. Its display, was made up a number of different ways, from the actual lunch counter that they sat on to the photographs of the era, the video from that era. That was one of the things that I was excited about seeing. Was again, I've seen lots of footage, but they had some footage that I'd never seen before of these incidences, and I think for me that's what gets it. It's when I can see that little bit of difference from the normal way that you have things depicted. Sometimes, it's a Walter Cronkite news report that says, there's a sit-in, or Dr. King was killed, or whatever. But then if you hear a local photographer or a local news person give this story, they may do it with a little bit of a different angle. And I think a lot of times those nuances are what excite me.
And I'll ask you this, Deborah. Both of you mentioned about the age diversity and desire. Do you think this could be something critical for our youth? And do you have a vision for bringing some youth on that? And how would you think what were some key factors of how you would tackle something like that? Because that would be a task, I think. Just thinking about it is like, ooh, Mufasa, but because young people, that's a challenge, especially if you were to get troubled teens or youth or just trying to educate them, period. They may be resistant, or the parents or whatever. So how do you have a vision, and how would you go about doing that?
So I'm going to answer that. I'm going to come back to that. My husband talked about the Underground Railroad, the Freedom Center in Cincinnati. I am originally from Ohio.
Okay.
I was born and raised in Dayton, Ohio.
Okay.
And so I'm very familiar with Ohio. And it turns out there was a city that was mentioned when we were at the Freedom Center, and it was called Ripley.
Okay.
And I have relatives who were from Ripley, Ohio.
Okay.
And here is the unfortunate but importance of sharing things with the next generation. My dad, one of his aunts, her family was from Ripley. She lived next door to her sister, also born and raised in Ripley. When her husband died, which was my father's uncle, my dad's task was to always drive them back and forth to Ripley for Memorial Day so that they could honor their relatives who had passed away. It was not until, I would say, maybe 15 years ago that I even understood the significance of Ripley, Ohio, having relatives there. Had I known that, I would have said, Daddy, can I ride with you?
Right.
Can I see? But I didn't know because they never really talked about this is the significance of this city.
And what was the significance of Ripley?
The significance of Ripley is Ripley was one of the first cities once you cross the Ohio River. So enslaved folks who came across the Ohio River, yes, Cincinnati, but Ripley was a place that was also
like a sanctuary.
stop. Yes, that was a stop on the Underground Railroad. And there was a man from Ripley who would actually cross the Ohio River into Kentucky and visit plantations.
And he didn't have a picture.
And they never had a picture. That's right. They never had a picture of him. And he helped enslaved folks escape. And where they escaped to, many of them, was Ripley, Ohio. It was, if you will, a sanctuary. And so having had relatives who were born and raised there, but now all of them have passed on, I cannot ask them about, oh my goodness, when you said you were going to Ripley, I didn't know that Ripley had such historical significance. I was a kid. I didn't know. This is why we must share with our young people.
Yes.
In that same statement, she said about the celebration was at Memorial Day. Many people don't know
don't know that.
Memorial Day was a holiday that was for black soldiers initially.
Yes,
so
yes, exactly.
So there's all this intertwinement of history that that is being lost. Let's just say it's been lost. It's been misstated. It's been purposely left out of books, and it is our duty, I think, to bring it to light. We have a special. My wife is our education director, and that focus is for young people who come into the museum, come to our museum, and are lost and don't really know. But one of the things that we've been able to track is that it's a misnomer to classify all of the young people that way. There's always one or two in the crowd that knows Black history. There's one or two in the crowd that's inquisitive about Black history. There's one or two that just want to know a little bit about their own history or their family history. And sometimes you only need that spark. One of the things that is very evident in all of the museums we've gone to is that when you break it down, even though the sit-ins at North Carolina A&T were 4 young men, they were all individual men, all individual students. And these 4 started a movement that was nationwide.
Yes.
It took one of the 4 to say. Matter of fact, they voted on it, whether they're going to do it. And one was a little apprehensive, a little bit about it, but the other ones all voted to go ahead and do the sit-in. And that one spark, as a lot of our history has shown us, is that one person, that one spark, can change a whole attitude, change the mind thinking of a lot of different people. Sometimes we become too reliant on that one person, like Dr. King and Malcolm X and some of the heavyweights in the civil rights movement. There are Malcolm X's and Dr. King's walking around all the time.
Yes.
Their impact may not be as great, but on a local level specifically, you have people that are changing lives and changing attitudes of civil rights and equality here in the United States all the time.
So I wanted to address the question about what is that vision, right?
Yeah.
What does that look like? And so we did engage last year with person who was in charge of a student group and really encouraged them to send, maybe 5 students or, at least 3 students, and followed up, but that didn't happen. Or avenues for accessing students, definitely at the local college level. And I'll name a few: GRCC, Grand Valley, Davenport, even Aquinas. We reach out through engagement at other activities that we have, and we're hoping that those students will then become so connected and so passionate about our history that they'll want to join us on our trip. We certainly have college interns who, and we've had them for several years, and we stay in touch with them. I'll share one story of a young lady who interned with us a couple of years ago. This year she completed her graduate studies at Boston University, but her first, I want to say, week that she was in Boston, she goes into, I don't know, some building on campus. She doesn't have her ID or whatever it is she needs, and the person says, that's fine, come back. When she comes back, who is in the office but Henry Louis Gates?
Wow.
And so an individual who happened to be there says, I have someone I want to introduce you to. She gets introduced to Henry Louis Gates.
Wow.
And has a picture with him. We posted it on our IG when it happened a few years ago. But that connection, we were not surprised because she was an individual who was very passionate about history and archaeological studies, believe it or not, and went on to pursue graduate studies. But she sees and meets Henry Louis Gates and has conversations with him, and it was just amazing. But as we engage with interns, as we engage with local college students, we also have a high school program that we're engaged with a couple of high schools in our area to support them in learning history and celebrating history, as well as in being able to have conversations with each other or people from diverse backgrounds and bringing our history to the conversation. So we're very passionate and engaged with youth, and next year we believe that we will have several youth that will be a part of this.
Wonderful. That's cosmic. That's cosmic. That's cosmic. I was gonna ask you something else. Like with how you mentioned that you got an expansion to the museum in Grand Rapids and whatnot. What do you think, or how critical do you think it is for tours like this to happen just across the country for just everyone? I mean, like, do you think there should be partnerships with each museum to start something like this going on all across the country?
Well, we have a loose partnership through the Association of African American Museums.
Okay.
It's a network, as well as the Underground Railroad Civil Rights Organization that connects a lot of the African American museums around the country. There are close to 1,200 now, and some are little houses, some are big buildings, some are Smithsonian, and we're at a point where now we have kind of stepped up into that level, so that people will start to book us for tours. Wonderful. That's what we're hoping is in that's will be a major part of our offerings to the public. I mean, we certainly will be doing class tours for local high schools and elementary schools. We hope that we can get all 6th or 7th graders in the whole district to come to our museum at one point during the school year. But we also would like to book national tours, people who want to know more about Grand Rapids and Western Michigan. We think we will have a unique offering for people who want to visit our museum, and as well as still telling a baseline of the civil rights, slavery, Jim Crow era, those things that we have collected. Part of our duty is to collect artifacts, to collect interviews, and to collect items that help us to tell the story. So we're in that process now, early process of designing our exhibits, of having our designers help us tell the story in interesting and unique ways that will attract young people. We kind of were thinking out how things work, and young people just want to use their cell phones and scan things, and we're finding that that's not quite true. That we really may have to rethink. We certainly are going to have some things that are high tech, but we also
it's a balance with the youth.
It's a balance.
They like everything. Some of them like old school stuff, and I found out that a lot of them are trying to learn about the old school stuff so they can be hip with the elders and the older people, and try to talk about what they know about yesterday. And then the older people want to get with them to learn about the new tech. So I think that helps to bridge the gap for a lot of it.
That's right.
And the other thing is just, we have some great designers, and they even changed my mind about, when we look at history as Westerners, we look at linear, what happened in the 1700s, what happened in the 1800s, what happened in the 1900s, and tell it in a linear story. But they said, well, they just did a museum that was indigenous, that was Native American based. And he says they don't think in linear terms as far as telling history. They think in more of a circular pattern where you're linking events and incidences, but you're not doing it on a timeline. You might talk about something like
something spiritual.
Not even spiritual. It could be almost anything like clothing. You might be talking about it, but you may talk about the evolution of how. If you're early person, you're going to be hunting for your clothes, your fur, whatever, until you get up to a point where at one time you're weaving, then you're manufacturing, but it's not in a timeline, so to speak. It's kind of this happened then,
circular relativity.
Yeah. So we're anxious to try some things. We're not going to have everything the way people think that it might be. I think we're going to use some examples that are being used around the country now, and make that as part of our overall telling of history. And we're learning that I'm seeing it in some of the museums that we visited. Even the Civil Rights Museum didn't do it. They have one area that is a timeline, but they also have one area where they're talking about schools, or they're talking about church, or they're talking about activism, and they're weaving those things without having any particular timeline into a narrative that tells the whole story. So it's changing of the way we think, because we're so linear and so this equals this equals this, that it takes a while to break out of that. But it is one of the ways that we think will engage young people, especially because their attention spans aren't as long, and they don't want to sit there reading a bunch of script that tells about a story, where they'd rather see, this happened there, and this is how I can find more information, but wow, read it real quick and say, oh yeah, this is how this person who was an 18-year-old got affected by staying out of school one day, you know, and so it's an interesting, challenging time for us as a museum. The other thing is that our museum space will be a community center. It will be a place where other groups will be able to come into our museum, not only learn about history, but you know, if they want to lease it out for a reception or a movie, we have a big theater in there, which is going to play a major part in the way we tell history. So we've got some things that we have on the back burner we haven't really talked about yet, but it will certainly be a place that will be a hub and a gathering place for the Black community in Grand Rapids.
Okay. Now I got a wonderful question here. Where can they find out about that fabulous hoodie and that fabulous sweatshirt you got on, and about Grandma? Where can they get one of those hoodies or whatever merchandise, and where can they learn about Grandma?
They can find us on all social media platforms. Our link tree is there. They can also go to GRAAMA.org and visit our website. And they can come and visit us. We will be at 87 Monroe Center in Grand Rapids until the end of the year. And then in January, we will transition to our new space at 41 Sheldon Southeast in downtown Grand Rapids. We'll still be in the downtown area. But we are so excited. And I just want to say this. For 10 years, Grandma has been telling stories. Yes, this is our second year of our museum bus tour. We definitely are passionate and believe in the telling of our history and stories and getting it right, telling it accurately, capturing those stories that I was unable to capture as a child, having relatives that were right there at the heart of history, and couldn't go back and ask. So we don't want that to happen. But we've been telling stories for 10 years, and we will continue to do so as long as there's breath in our bodies, as long as we're able to. And I want to thank the community, because it is because of the community and the community saying, we support you, we're behind you. We know that what you're doing is important for our city, for our people. We know this is important and we support you. So we want to thank all the folks who signed up last year for the bus tour, signed up this year for the bus tour, brought a class of students, or maybe their nieces and nephews or their grandchildren down to Grandma to learn about history. So we just want to thank the community for all of the support these last 10 years. Continue to support us, engage with us, get a membership, GRAAMA.org. Find us on social media.
And our logo, as you commented on, is for our t-shirts.
That's a Dinka symbol.
It's
right?
an Dinka symbol.
Is that the two alligator? What is that?
No, it is not. It it has a color in it which distorts it a little bit, but not really. That's just our logo now. But the shape actually is a Dinka symbol for Nia, which is knowledge and the continued quest for knowledge.
Okay.
That statement says it all for our museum. The continued quest for knowledge. That means no matter how smart you get, no matter how much you learn, no matter how many degrees you have, you always have a little bit of room to learn something else. And we seek out people, from little kids to adults to older people, who come into our museum and they'll turn around and say, you know, I really learned something today.
Right.
And that for us is golden. That's the golden nugget for us, to have somebody leave our place and say, you know, I learned something today. And as we were saying, as our visit, that's why we do this, because every time we visit another museum, we learn something. We learn something about a people, a place, a thing that we didn't know about, and we take that back and add it to our collection of knowledge. And go out and seek more knowledge. That's what it's all about.
That's right.
Any sneak peek into your minds about next year's trip? You don't want to give it away yet. Okay,
No,
okay.
no,
I thought I might try to slip that in there, see if you slip up a little bit.
There'll be some discussion about that, I'm sure. Every year we kind of, go back and
I'm
say,
looking forward to it. I got to get my cheddar up so I can go,
what worked and
make sure I go to the next one too.
I will say we will always go in October.
Okay.
Either the first or second weekend. We will always always stick to this time of year, the fall, to go. It may vary from weekend, maybe it's the first or the second in October, but we always focus on the fall. We know that families get together in the summer. There's a lot of reunions. We don't want to clash with that. We know the winter, the first part of the year is usually
holidays
for traveling,
and stuff.
Holidays as well as weather as it relates to Michigan. So fall is usually the time of the year that we'll choose to go. So thank you again.
Yeah. Any other insights or questions for me, or anything that you have?
Blue, we just want to thank you for doing all of our recording. You've done an excellent job.
It's been an honor and a pleasure.
To continue to document this. That is history making.
That is history.
I mean, man, I can just go back and name lots of people that were in the right place at the right time with a camera. And while this, many people's mind isn't a mind-altering excursion, you just never know. Just being able to put people on tape and ask them the right questions, I think, is a talent in itself, and you should be commended too.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I received that. And it's been an honor and a pleasure to do this for Grandma. And my vision is to do this and have this, be all over the world telling this story and filming people talking about the history of the planet and our people.
Yes, we will have this trip for many years to come. As my husband said,
I received that.
As my husband said, there are cultural institutions, African American museums, historic places, birthplaces, Harriet Tubman's home, Frederick Douglass's home, Paul Laurence Dunbar's home in Ohio. You could literally select 5 museums or cultural institutions and do that for the next 20 years and never repeat. That's how much history is out there. So we will continue to do these trips. We will do them every year. And we just look forward to next year.
Yes.
And that's just in the United States. I mean,
that's right. That's true.
There's Canada, there's Africa, there's South America.
Wow.
There's trips that we love to take and be that exclusive people that we say it's going to be 40 seats. You better get them like that.
You better sign up. That's right. That's right.
All right, I'll be sure to make sure I get mine online though too. All right, thank you very much. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.
What were you saying?
I just want to say, we are very careful and strategic as we plan this, and every part is important. And so I just want to speak just for a few seconds on our bus driver, Mr. Richard, and how critical it is to have someone driving us who also understands the vision of what it is that we're doing. Last year, he shared several personal stories that added to all of the collective as it relates to the experience. And so this year, he again was important, and we made sure, insisted that as we took this trip, that he be a part of it. And so for the foreseeable future, as long as we are doing these trips, we want Mr. Richard to be an integral part
of driving, because he understands what it is. He understands the mission of what it is that we're doing, and I feel adds to it would not be the same without him. So we appreciate him being a part.
That's good. That's good. I'm glad you said that, because I agree with you 100,000%. And he handles that bus like he's driving a Ferrari. You know, he gets around tight corners and curves and with precision. And he's not a crazy driver. He's not a fast driver. He's a very professional and meticulous driver.
Yes, he is.
And he also, I mean, he takes care of the bus, make sure we keep it clean, and he's very humble and also confident.
Yes,
that's the thing I like about him.
There's a balance. He's humble, but he's also confident.
Yes.
You're exactly right, Lou.
Yeah.
Exactly right. Yes. So he too will be a part next year of the trip.
Yes.
And you know, it's just a part of the components. You know,
that's right.
It's not just Deborah and I, but we have staff and board members who have put time into this trip.
Yes.
And you know, next year, you know, we'll put the same effort in. You know, if we could do anything better, let people know earlier where we're going.
Yeah.
And I know you've been trying to get that.
I know you're trying to.
But we're not gonna let it go.
We're not gonna release it.
I like surprises anyway. I like surprises. Just let me know before at the beginning of the year, so I can start stacking my chips away.
That's
what we found.
That's right.
We do it early. People start putting their money together a little bit earlier, and they say, okay, you know, I got 8 months to get this amount of money.
Are you going to have another feedback
absolutely.
questionnaire?
We will always
That's good,
do that.
because I was approached by a few people with some things, and I said when they get a questionnaire, I'll put that on there for them.
Yes, please do. It actually, in our folders, there is the hard copy, and then after the trip, we will send an electronic copy, and we'll send that out. We always do that because we want feedback. If there's something that really worked, we want to know that, and if there's something that didn't work so well, we want to know that too.
We change things
that's
from
right.
last
We
year.
make adjustments because we want the best experience possible for our travelers. So yes, we will have that.
I think it only gets better and better.
I agree.
Every year is better than the next.
I agree. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. We appreciate you.
All right.
Hi.
Tell me your name, first name only.
Carolyn. Or Diamond.
Okay. And tell me a little bit about yourself, your tribe, a little bit of your history, and I'll ask you some more questions after you let me know a little bit about that.
I am 55-year-old Black woman currently living in Grand Rapids. I grew up in Flint, spent a lot of time in Detroit, and moved to GR in 2019. My family mostly hails from the South. My mom was born in Orlando, Florida. My dad was born in Chicago, but my people on my dad's side are from Texas, and my people on my mom's side are from Orlando, Florida. So that's the tribe. And currently I am in a revolutionary phase of my life. I won't even say, I guess revolutionary is accurate. More connecting the dots with my purpose and my calling and the gifts from my past that I was given. I'm reconnecting with to use to move everything forward.
Okay. This is Grandma Never to Be Erased Tour 2.0. Last year was exciting and amazing, and you helped to organize and put that together, and you served as our bus captain last year. You're the captain again once again this year, and we also have you as our flight attendant, you know, and because we've taken off this year, and we have gone into the heights of the air with this tour, and it's exciting. What were you expecting to get from this tour, and what have you been enlightened or moved by so far with this one?
2.0. So when we did the tour last year, ultimately my goal was to eventually end up here in South Carolina, because we started talking about this when the Byards had gone to the African American museum that we're going to tomorrow, and that prompted me to want to come to South Carolina. Plus I did some recording about, I don't know, 10 years ago, 12 years ago maybe, about the Gullah Geechee people. So for me, this was an ultimate goal to have one of the trips end up coming here. The history of our folks coming over during the slave migration, or the slave trade, the roots coming, and then the last vestiges of that history is in this region. So I wanted to see it for myself. I wanted to see the Gullah Geechee. I wanted to see the islands where we were brought first. So it was important to me. And it's been extraordinary. Today in the church was a full circle moment for me. I had not seen a ring shout in person. So the portion that we got a chance to experience was exactly what I felt like it should have felt like in my soul. But the other pieces of the history, like the Harriet Tubman Museum, the Underground Railroad stuff, you think you know things until you learn things, and it's like, I didn't know that, and then the Civil Rights Movement, and then when we dissected Dr. King's letters from prison, and then to have that stuff be repeated in this national or international museum space was really powerful too. So this trip has been more than I could have expected it to be, and I don't even know what we're going to encounter tomorrow and on Monday, but this one is impacting me more emotionally in 1.0, and I kind of expected that it would, but I didn't know how much. So yeah.
Okay. So the common thread of a lot of these interviews I've been doing is about the youth. The youth are troubled today, and it's kind of challenging to get them in the right direction. How critical do you think this kind of trip would be for youth, and do you see a vision for that with the youth, and how would you go about putting something like that together? Maybe some ideas.
I think every movement, every cultural anything that is to be carried forward has to come through the youth. It's just natural. People will get old, they will die. So if you don't cascade information, knowledge, the foundational roots down to the next generation, it dies with you. So, and that's anything. Blues, jazz, our culture, music, the arts, history, all of it. So it's very important. I think a lot of our young people, because they are not connected with other people, they're connected through this digital. There's no human to human contact anymore. And so I think that's a problem. So we're not connecting them with each other or with the ancestors or their lineage. So I think the first thing is to kind of find something that they already relate to, whether that be fashion, whether that be music, whether it be sports, science, whatever the industry is or the media is that young people are connected to now. And it all comes back to something from our past. So I think we need to meet people where they are, meet the young folks where they are, find something that's relevant to them, and then start connecting the dots to the past so that they understand where it came from and they understand how precious it is for them to carry the stories forward.
Wonderful, wonderful. How critical, we talked about the youth, but how critical do you think tours like this is for cultural diversity and immersion and social immersion?
Great question. Because our educational system in this country particularly is under attack, we can no longer rely, not that we ever could fully rely on the government or the educational system to provide this knowledge to our young people, but we 100% cannot rely upon it now. Everything that is culturally related, arts related, everything that is not a sanitized version of American history is being scrubbed from every classroom. So tours like this that are still available, that we make available, where we can still go to museums, galleries, historical places and share this information is important. Not only important, it's critical. And the immersive part of it is actually getting the kids to experience it, right? Like they can watch a film, like I think about Daughters of the Dust, or you know the movies that they made, like Selma and Malcolm X and different movies like that, where they
those too, right?
Where so when you look at those movies, you see a certain part of it, but when you come down to the Gullah Geechee area and you walk through the area where Daughters of the Dust happened, you see the churches where our people came after they got off the boat, and you see the cultural influences of when they were here from the very beginning. Like that church was old, right? There were some new things. That church was 200 and something years old. So when you think about that, like I'm 55, 200 something years ago would have been like my great grandma, right? So that's the immersive part. Like you can touch, you can see, you can hear, you can smell. Like when we got off the bus, you could smell the moss in the air. Think about what our ancestors must have been going through, like when they would walk down those streets at night, wondering if they were going to be picked up by some mob for some Jim Crow thing, right? The smells, the sounds, just all of that. That's the immersive piece, and I think those are the experiences that the kids need to have. They need to be able to have those experiences. It's the re-aliving. I don't know if that's a word, but I think I'm gonna take poetic license and say we're going to
Reanimating.
We're going to re-alive our young people. It's like we're disconnecting them from the matrix and re-aliving them. I think I'm gonna have to write a poem about that. So critical.
So we talked on the bus about just dealing with the cultural diversity and immersion. We talked on the bus about the allies, and also talked about telling the two sides of the story and whatnot. And just in educational wise, period, how do you feel a tour like this would impact the average American and the people of America, as well as our people, should this go cosmic, if you will?
Full candor. I don't know that a tour like this would necessarily impact the average American, because the average American is not tuned in. So they will come on a tour like this, or they will look at a tour like this, and it will be in their mind, oh, Black people are telling the same narrative, or why can't they let it go, right? That's the average American's position on these things, fully, right? Because they're not connected. They're not connected. They're not vested in this. It doesn't matter to them that these stories are told because they're not impacted, right? But for Americans, Black Americans, white Americans, all Americans of color that are tuned in to humanity at large and tuned in to how connected we all are. For those folks, it will be life-changing. So our work as humans, our work as individuals is one, to do our own human revolution, which is to challenge ourselves to become the best versions of ourselves. For some of us, that means really taking a hard look at our positions about race, about culture, about the value of culture in our society and how we value it, right? And that can be a hard awakening for a lot of people. Like, people are assholes. They really are. And I know I hope you probably have to edit that out, but whatever.
No need to be edited. That's the truth.
People are assholes. They are. And the moment a person realizes, I'm an asshole, I've been an ass this whole time, there's a whole range of emotions that come with that. Anger, frustration, humility, the whole cycle of grief. Because once you realize you're an asshole and you don't want to be that anymore, you have to kill that person off in order to become a different person. That's the work, right? That's the human revolution. And then once you do that, then you have to take yourself and then you have to start working for the greater good of other people. And that point is when tours like this become impactful, because the people are awakened and they're having one-on-one dialogues with their neighbors, their friends, their children, their siblings, and then their siblings are having to go through that same grief process. Man, I've been a real asshole. Now I gotta change some things, and change is hard. For some people, it's easier to be like, I've been an asshole, it's too late for me to change, I'm just gonna be an asshole for the rest of my life. And that's a lot of people, right? But for the people that are willing to do the work, willing to make the change and understand the necessity for it, that's what tours like this are for. That's what these organizations are for. That's our work, connecting with people one-on-one and helping them to see the benefit of changing. Like, why? I mean, if I've been that way all my life, what good does it do me to change now, right? So it helps you to have better relationship with your community. It helps you to be able to share resources. It helps you to be able to, the administration is not helping people right now, so we have to help each other. There's all kinds of things, just happiness, just generally being able to walk down the street and not be afraid of your neighbors. Those things are priceless. Peace is priceless, right? I can't imagine that really all white people want to walk down the street and have to clutch their pearls and hold their purse every time they see a black person. That's a shitty way to live. I don't believe that all white people want that. But I don't think they know how to not be that until they sit down and have a conversation with a black person and understand that we are not monsters. And they don't do that unless we do the work. Because ain't nobody coming for us. We got to come to them. It's facts, Like the guy at the restaurant that night. I could have stood there and not had a conversation with him, let him stand there amongst all of us black people wondering what we were doing in there.
Tell us about that.
Instead, we had a great conversation, and the prompting of the conversation was, just kind of at first making light of the fact that he came in behind a busload full of people, and it was like a bad timing for him. But then I was like, okay, so he was pretty cool, and so I got to ask him about his family and the area and things like that, and he's married, he has 3 kids, super nice. And turns out that we are concerned about a lot of the same things, even though we don't share the same political viewpoint, right? Like, a good example, he works for the police department in the area. He does first active shooter drill training and first responder training for those types of things. He also teaches martial arts. And so, I asked him, one of the questions I asked him was, how do you feel about gun control? And I don't believe that people's guns should be taken away from them. I don't know that I'm ready to carry one, but, the fact that he's a police officer, so he certainly owns guns. And he was like, I don't think that we necessarily need more laws than we have, because we have a lot of laws. He goes through background checks and things like that to get his guns. He said, so if people want them, they'll get them no matter how many laws. I agree with that. I couldn't argue that point, right? But what he did say was, but I do believe that the problem that we're not addressing is mental health. People need to have their mental health concerns addressed, and we need to deal with that problem in conjunction with this problem in order to really
moved the needle forward. And I was like, wow, I agree with that too. You know, it's something that we talk about all the time, like, you know, mental health in all facets, right? And so from that point, we just really found a lot of common ground and a lot of things. His family had been taught about the Underground Railroad. There were places in his neighborhood that he pointed out to me. You know, he worries about active shooter drills for his kids in school, just like everybody else does, you know?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it was an opportunity to have a real conversation with someone that moved beyond the bullshit platitudes about how's the weather and, you know, what'd you have for dinner today, you know?
Yeah.
It's time to just start being real with each other and connecting. Yeah. And that was an opportunity for me to walk the talk. Yeah. And it was great. It was really great.
Okay, racism, ignorance, hatred, and social maligning, that covers everybody else. You know, the people nobody wants to discuss. The other communities that are being maligned in America and whatnot. It's bad for business. We know this. So, economically, how could tours like this impact communities all over the United States?
I had a great example today. Just from our tour, we supported communities, right? We came into each city that we came into, and even though we went to like one stop, we supported the restaurants around each of the places we went. Our dollars, we bring our dollars to those communities. We support those organizations. You know, a great example of what happened today with the lunch, with the Gullah Geechee tour that we went on. You know, not only did we support the tour guide on his, you know, striking out to start his tours, we supported his family businesses. We got a chance to talk about other things in the community, and we got a chance to sow seeds to bring future business. And we also, again, spend our dollars, we put our money where our mouth is, which is back in the local communities and supporting Black owned, which, I mean, that's priceless. And I think as long as there's a need, we should continue to do tours like this.
As well as the local hotels and other restaurants.
And everything, exactly. We support the black dollar is very valuable in this country. And we learned throughout the tour this weekend so far that, you know, as the more we understand the value of our economy as a part of the whole, the more impactful we can be and the stronger our voices become and affecting change.
Yeah, and it helps to, doesn't it also help to immerse people in the different cities and states, different cultural differences, the different social differences, the different economic differences, you know, like, you know, coming to the hotels and seeing the different people interacting and whatnot, and a lot of the stuff that people want to turn backwards, we're moving forward with, and, you know, being culturally diverse with everywhere we go to show harmony and unity, and that people can get along, not because they want to be new. They can get along because even in spite of their differences, and work in harmony without the ugliness of division. Let me ask you this. The museums and the bus tours and just the camaraderie of the participants, what do you you know, in your you've emceed, I'll say, a lot of the talks on the bus. How do you feel about that kind of interaction? What do you feel about that?
Have you ever had a meal and you ate it too fast and it was hard for you to digest? Right. So
I feel like the conversations that we're having is what's helping us to digest these meals that we are coming and getting. You know, the information has been wonderfully prepared for us, and it has been prolifically abundant. The amount of knowledge that has been shared in the short time frames with which we visit these spaces is huge, right? But it can be hard, right? So what happens is when we have the conversation, it's like the aperitif that comes after, right?
Yeah.
It helps you to digest, gives you an opportunity to reflect, and to figure out how best you can use this nourishment to move forward. And that's what I think any good dialogue or any good facilitation should do. It should help you to process what you've seen or observed, or whatever the topic is at the time, and help you figure out how you move forward in a valuable way after taking in what you've consumed. And I think that it provides a valuable service, and I hope to be of service in that capacity, and hope that at the end of it all, people do leave uplifted, encouraged, and feel like they have gotten something out of it that they can actually use going forward.
Wonderful, wonderful. So I want to thank you, and it's been wonderful interviewing you and having you on this trip. And I'm grateful that you told me about this, and Lord willing, the creek don't rise, I'll be able to come to each one and do the same thing and archive this, because this is a passion of mine now. And it's not the only one archiving I'm doing, but everybody I know, as you know, the history of this was because when COVID hit, I said there's a lot of people whose stories weren't told, and they left here. And so I said, all the people I know, they're superheroes. They're superheroes. So I need to get the superheroes and learn their superpowers so that we can pass it on to the next generation. Yeah. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for all you do.
Thank you. You're welcome. Brad,
Hey,
how are you?
I'm great.
Great to see you again on this GRAAMA'S Never to Be Erased 2.0 this year. I would just let you tell how you feel about it. We completed the trip. Tell us all your insights on what you felt about having this again the second year and everything about the trip.
Well, as one of the planners of the trip, I am so pleased and delighted that we were able to put together an experience for people, a 5-day experience for people that apparently is very worthwhile and valuable to everybody involved. That's a hard thing to do, and we tried real hard, worked on months to get it right, and we're so pleased. We've had to make some adjustments along the way, but that's to be expected, and we've had a very, very cooperative group that have accommodated with us with those adjustments. So it's been a wonderful experience.
That's great. That's great. What do you think something like this could be done with youth, or you think it would be critical to do something like that?
I absolutely think so. It's going to take a little special twist to make that work.
Right.
And we have to figure out how to make that happen. But one of the things I want to do when I go back is to talk to the GRAAMA board about the formulation of a youth advisory council.
Wow.
And I think that would help us get where we need to go.
That's cosmic, friend. Wow, that's cosmic. I wasn't thinking about that. That's deep. Yeah, that would be great and awesome. So, what have you learned new about? I know you've probably been to some of these museums. Have you learned anything new that you didn't know before?
The background for this museum in particular,
Muhammad
Ali was much more than a guy in a boxing ring. He was a full-fledged human being
with all the things that go with human
Humanitarian.
beings. And we need to recognize that was what Muhammad Ali was all about. He was just not a dude with boxing gloves on. He was a full-fledged, remarkable human being.
All right. We thank you for providing the snacks and being our point person for all the places we've gone to, and we really enjoy your coaching, I guess you could say, of the tour, to making sure everything goes well for us, and we appreciate you for that.
That was what this is all about. This is for you guys. It was for you to experience a full experience of who we are as a people, all of our history, all of it. And before somebody manages to get rid of us, and I'm not going to mention any names, but this is who we are, and we want as many people to be exposed to this as we possibly can.
All right. Thank you very much. Cool.
I'm good. How are you doing today?
All right. What's your name?
I'm Diane.
All right. Is this your first time on the Grandma Never to Be Erased tour?
It is. Yes, it is.
Tell me what you think about it. So after it's been completed and everything, what's your insight and feedback on the trip?
My insight is, well, number one, what I think is a very inspiring trip. It helps us to remember our history, bring some things back to focus for us. Not just the tragedy of the history, but the beauty of the history, how the resiliency of our people. And that's very encouraging. It's something that I hope our young people will also get to know, so that they can remain strong and have a purpose and a hope in life, and not look at all of slavery as a bad thing. It's not good, actually, to try to own other people, etc., etc. But what can we learn from that experience that will help us to work for others, not just for ourselves, but to look beyond ourselves and look at people in other countries and still in this country who are struggling, who are trying to get an identity, particularly right now when we look at immigration and what's going on with people who may not be known as legal here or accepted as legal, but to look at what they contribute as well and not to put people down.
Okay. What kind of stood out to you about this tour? Any particular points or any points from any of the museums that we went to? The International African Museum, Muhammad Ali Center, the Civil Rights Museum.
I think for me, probably a lot of different things that I sort of put together, probably because I take students to Ghana, and I've gone to the slave castles and I've seen them, and I've been to Africa several times. So it kind of cements some things a little bit, but just the point is that people are people regardless of their plight. I think, though, personally for me, is looking at my ancestry and trying to figure out where my mom's people come from, and just recognizing names that will trigger me to maybe do more research. But I don't think there's any one particular thing that I'm taking away from the trip, because I think what it does is it kind of puts a lot of things, solidify a lot of maybe what you know. And if there is one thing I would say, is really to educate our young people, because we really need to know our history. And I am so concerned about the fact that people don't take time to share the hard stuff. You know, we may sometimes gloss over what those things are, but to really share our story, because everyone has a story.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you think this will be a good trip for the youth as well, huh?
It's a good trip for the youth. I think even before it becomes a good trip for the youth is to prepare them, to educate them, to find a way where we can share our history. I am so fully aware, all of us are fully aware, that a lot of things have been stripped, are trying to be stripped, you know, in terms of DEI or whatever. But we really have to find a way to talk to our young people. And the problem is that some of the young people the millennials, perhaps, if I put it that way, or whatever you might call the particular generation, if they don't know the history, if we have not been sharing it and passing it down, because it really wasn't taught in school when I was in school, and how much of that is taught right now, I'm not quite sure. So when I'm thinking about our young people, it's not so much as to bring them on this tour, but to prepare them to be ready for this tour. If we're going to do something with the young people, how can we begin to educate them now, not just in schools, but in the churches, in our organizations, so that they will have a richness and a respect and a desire to know more, and a desire not just for themselves, but a desire to share what they learn, and to treat all people with dignity and value and worth.
So what you're saying I hear is getting back to the old traditions, rites of passage and storytelling and passing down the torch to the youth from the elders, and all the learning all about their families, and just keeping the history.
Keeping the history, and whether or not we do many of those traditional things like rites of passages, etc., etc. Because you have to think about what is rites of passage, you know, because we can say maybe rites of passage is female genital mutilation. And so we have to be careful with what we term rites of passage, but to really pass down the richness of the culture, and to maybe look at some of the things that we have done in the past that we can no longer do right now in the name of rites of passage.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's critical. That's because the first time I've heard that. That's wonderful to hear that, because that gives a different insight on what people would traditionally think, you know, because everything has two sides to it, and people don't realize that, because, you know, like my mother used to say, you know, when somebody tells a lie, it rides on the back of the truth. Yeah. You know, so a lot of things that are meant for good have had, you know, people do evil by it in the name of it.
That's right.
You know, and that so I understand where you're coming from. Any other insights or?
No, I think just basically is recognizing what is dear to cultures. And I think there's just because we don't know much, and even when you look at patriarchy, I am so much against a lot of stuff that we've done historically here, because we don't really understand the beauty of God's people and how he made the man and the woman to be helpful to one another, not to have
subjugate
power
one
over.
another.
Right. I am never for power over any group of people or any individual.
Right.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.